The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Free Kicks. Well, looks like we're back.
Yes, we are.
Remember how to do this?
I hope so.
Now, you have been busy. You've watched your Chelsea team a couple of times live in person since we last spoke because they were here in America.
That's right. I've been the crazy fan traveling all over. Got to see him in Atlanta as well as Chicago. So I saw him a couple of times and obviously watched him on TV, but saw him live. Got to do some stuff with them when they were in Chicago, which was great. We did something with our Soccer for Success program. So Conor Gallagher and Ian Matson were there. And got to chat with them a little bit. And then spent some time watching their training session, which was fantastic. On Tuesday, they trained up at UIC and got a nice few pictures with some of the players. Some have since left.
Oh,
that's
really?
Okay.
For real?
Well, Kepa was the one.
Yeah, okay.
I wanted a picture with the goalkeeper, and then Slanina too. He's on loan. He's gone on. But I mean, it's a whole show on Chelsea signings.
Well, all right. Yes, we should tell people that what we're going to talk about this week on Free Kicks is some of the changes that have happened in all the various different teams. So why don't we get to the show?
And now, Free Kicks. Free Kicks with Illinois Youth Soccer Association's Director of Coaching, Adam Howarth, and Rick Kemper.
So it's good to be back. You know, I really missed watching the Premier League. I got to say, I missed it, and I was watching all weekend long this past weekend. Saw a bunch of great games, but I think the one thing I noticed more than anything else, and this is why we're doing this particular show today, is that it was really hard to keep track of all these new players. I mean, there are a million new players at various different clubs. I can't remember a season that has had this many changes.
Totally agree. I mean, this is from Arsenal all the way through to Fulham, we're going to talk about today. But, yeah, it's just been so difficult to keep track. Like I said, I tried to do as much as I could, my homework in preparation for our listeners for the show. And then all of a sudden, we keep on adding people even as we speak.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's been crazy. It's been crazy, but really exciting. And like you said, I'm so happy it's back. It's what a league. I mean, there's just so much excitement, the play, the games, and controversy already even after the game yesterday. So awesome.
That's true. We'll probably get to that. But let's start. Do these. We're going to do these in alphabetical order.
Yeah. Just
to have some sort of a semblance of decorum here. We have next week we'll get the other 10 teams, but this week we'll start with Arsenal. All right, so you may have noticed that Kai Havertz from Chelsea is now part of Arsenal, and Declan Rice from West Ham.
Yeah, big one.
Those are big signings for Arsenal. And I don't really know Timber that well from Ajax. And really the only player that they lost was Xhaka, but he was an important player. He's gone to Leverkusen.
Yeah, that's true. Now, they did lose our American player too, Matt Turner. That happened pretty recently. He was the backup. But breaking news, as we speak, they've just signed another goalkeeper. Literally, we're going to be talking about signings even live on our show.
All right.
David Raya from Brentford has just signed on a loan deal. So he is going to probably be the backup to Ramsdale. I think there was some concern from the group concerning Matt Turner and if he was ready to stand in, which is a little maybe a little tough to say, but I think it's going to be great for Matt Turner because he's going to get to play a lot. But David Raya is now a new signing for Arsenal, and he's going to be the backup to Ramsdale.
So the Arsenal's already got a win, and they won 2-1 in their first game. And,
good.
But let me ask you this. So they had a great season last year. I believe they finished in second. Is this team even better than last year's team?
I think so. I think it's definitely better. I think they've added the pieces that they needed to. Obviously, a few more strikers in Kai Havertz, and then they've got, obviously, Jesus should be back a little bit more healthier. Nketiah, who was probably third string, I guess you could say, or he scored on the weekend. So, I think they'll be better. Declan Rice is a massive signing for them. Right. And they'll be there or thereabouts for sure.
Okay, let's talk about Aston Villa, the other A team. They had a rough first week, but I still think this is a pretty good team. They signed Torres from Villarreal. They signed Diaby from Leverkusen. Tielemans from Leicester City. Those, that's a pretty good addition to that team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was a bit surprised with the result, losing to Newcastle. I mean, Newcastle's obviously a good team as well, but yeah, a bit of a surprise. And they looked fairly good over the summer as well. I was able to watch them play in that Premier League summer series. They got some good signings. I think they're certainly not going to be in the bottom half, that's for sure. They'll be up there, probably fighting for the top eight spots. They'll be there or thereabouts, but it was a tough day for our one listener and his team.
Yeah, that's right. All right, now Bournemouth has started with a draw, 1-1 draw. They have a couple of signings, but nothing really of note. They have Ahmed Traore, which is, I think, the fourth Traore now in the league.
Yeah, can't keep up.
I've lost track of the Traores. And they lost Dembele to Birmingham, but obviously he's going down to the second division, so that's probably not a big loss. I don't really see any changes that much in Bournemouth. How about you?
No, I think it's pretty much the same. They did well to stay in the league. The change, probably the big change, was the manager. Obviously, He left and he took over another Premier League, so that's going to be a slight change in terms of where everybody kind of falls. But I don't see them changing too much. I think the way they play, we've got a Spanish manager in Iraola. I think he's pretty renowned for playing out of the back and keeping the ball nice and simple, nice and tight, moving through the thirds of the field. So you may see a slightly different way of playing, but they should be fine.
Okay. Brentford also began the season with a 2-2 draw. I thought this was kind of an interesting signing. They signed Romeo Beckham, which is David Beckham's son. Mm-hmm. And he was playing for an American team, right?
That's right. I think he was with Inter Miami. Should have stayed there. Could have been playing with Messi. Who knows? But he's had a shocker there. But no, I don't know if he's going to get in too much. He was always in that second group, even at Inter. Poor fellow. I mean, he's following in the footsteps of his father. So still, he's a professional. He's playing the game. Good luck to him. He's
obviously got some talent, or he wouldn't be there. They also signed two players from Freiburg, which I have to admit I didn't know. Schade and Flecken. Not exactly huge stars in the Bundesliga. So I don't know. Brentford really haven't done much either, have they?
No, nothing. Saw him a few times again. I saw him at the summer series in Atlanta. They're very direct in the way that they play. I don't think things are going to be changing there. Ivan Toney is going to be a big miss for them because he's going to be out. He's still suspended for that 9-month betting situation.
Right.
So there's a lot of goals that are going to be missed from there.
So when does that end? Does it end before the end of the season?
I believe so. I think it'll be kind of in the new year when he's able to come back. It may be a bit earlier. I have to double check on the dates.
He's only the most important player on that team. Right?
Yeah. he's only their leading goal scorer. Right. Nothing much. So I think the way they play, be interesting to see how teams figure them out. They work hard. They're all kind of they work extremely hard for each other. They should be another mid to low team in terms of the league standings at the end of the year.
So I was looking over Brighton's changes this year. Yeah. And I have to say, they're not great. And I would be worried if I were Brighton. And then, of course, they go and they win 4-1 in their first game.
Right.
So,
exactly.
It just shows that I have no idea what I'm talking about. But they lost.
That's true.
They lost McAllister, who was arguably their best player. They lost Sanchez to Chelsea, the goalie. And the guys they signed, they signed James Milner, who is my age. They signed Verbruggen from Anderlecht. I'm not really that familiar with him. Julio from Fiorentina.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
If it's any consolation, I have more players from this team on my fantasy team than any other team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Brighton, unbelievable. Love the way they play. Saw them live in Atlanta. My goodness. The way they play out of the back, I mean, you would be having a heart attack playing 1-2s in the 6-yard box. That's basically how they do it. But I just love the way they play. I love the plays they've got. Estepanan is just an absolute star. Now, they did lose a big player who was not playing for them, obviously, over the summer in the first game in Caicedo, but they've got so many good players. Like you said, they did add James Milner. Solly March is great.
Yeah, Solly March is my favorite. He's the guy.
And I think a player to really watch out for and to think about is their striker, Evan Ferguson. He scored this past weekend. He's young. I think he's only like 18. I've got him on my fantasy team. He's going to score a lot of goals. 6'2" striker. Really good, really good.
Have you found that the big clubs now in the Premier League are kind of like hovering around Brighton, just trying to pick off what they have developed for them? Because they've become quite good at developing players. Absolutely.
I mean, Chelsea's picked up a whole bunch of them for sure. A couple went the other way in Billy Gilmore, but they got some really. Mitoma is another good player. Tarek Lamptey was formerly Chelsea. He went to Brighton. He hasn't been playing much with injuries, but there's a lot of good players on this team. So Pascal Gross is the vice captain. Lewis Dunk, who's a part of the England setup now.
Yeah,
watch them. They're going to do well. They're going to do well again.
Okay, so Burnley is another team that they are now back in the Premier League, with Vincent Kompany as their manager. And, I think of the teams that have come up, I think they're going to do the best. They lost 3-0 in the opener, but they were playing against Manchester City, which, everyone else is going to lose 3-0 till also.
Exactly. So, tough first game for them. I think they've made some shrewd signings. Again, he does a nice job. He's able to find those younger players from Belgium and Germany. Jordan Bayer is a player that got brought in. They've got some good players that I think are going to be able to really contribute. Ian Matson, who was with them for this past year, a Chelsea player, he went back to Chelsea. I know, talking to my good friend who's a Burnley fan, he was really upset about that. And when we saw him at the Chelsea training, he was trying to encourage him to go back to Burnley. But that's not going to happen. But he's...
Is that true? He was talking like, hey, listen. That's funny.
That's exactly what he said. But no, he's... I think there'll be a solid team, mid-table for sure. And the way they play too, I like how they play. They play through the thirds, so they'll be fine. Okay,
so we teased the Chelsea thing at the beginning, and we could have done the whole show on the various different changes they've made. Why don't you run through them for me? Because I'm having a hard time keeping track. Why don't we start with who's gone? Because there's a whole list of people that are gone.
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's gone in terms of gone, and then there's also players on loan.
True.
So it's just so crazy what they've done. Kepa is the most recent one. He's just gone out on loan to Real Madrid.
Yep.
Slanina, who from Chicago, he's gone out to Eupen. I think they're in Belgium, I think. Eupen is the team that he's gone out on loan as well. David Fofana, he's gone out to Germany. So there's a bunch of those players that have gone out. And then they've also got rid of Mason Mount, which was a big loss.
Yes.
Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic went to AC Milan. Havertz, obviously. Kovacic to Manchester City. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. Hopefully I'm not missing any.
Dave.
Cabaye.
Don't forget Dave.
Dave Azpilicueta, he went. Yeah, he was pretty much, that was a nice way to go for him.
Yeah.
Cabaye, Mendy, Aubameyang, Kante, they all went to Saudi Arabia. Yeah. I think Aubameyang went to Marseille, like you mentioned there. But yeah, it's just it's hard to keep up. It really is. So lots of people have gone. The biggest losses for me were the local players, obviously Loftus-Cheek and Mason Mount.
Yeah.
Those ones are tough because they grew up playing since they were 8. Because remember, there's different types of players, Rick and Chelsea.
I've heard about that, yes. So
if people listen to this show, they know.
So let's talk about the guys that they have brought in, however, because, I have to tell you, I watched the game against Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool's my team. Mm-hmm. I was really impressed with Chelsea. They looked fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. I think first 30 minutes, Liverpool definitely controlled the game.
Yep.
But the rest of the game, I thought Chelsea looked really good. I like I said, I got to see him play a couple of times, got to see him train, told Poch what I thought, and told you, and he didn't listen to me, but that's okay. But yeah, they got Nicholas Jackson. I think is going to score some goals for them. There's no question. That guy's blistering fast.
Yes,
that's exactly what we needed in terms of a striker. Then we've also got Reece James back, captain,
right?
Massive, absolutely massive. Ben Chilwell, vice captain,
and people
massive.
Don't really talk about both of those guys were injured last year for big parts of the season. They are such key players to that team.
Absolutely. And then you've added some pieces there with younger players coming in, which I really like. Levi Colwill will probably play a lot of centre back this year. So he's a younger player, and I think Conor Gallagher is going to get a lot of playing time in that central area. Noni Madekwi, who's still injured, but he kind of came on late in the year. He was scoring a bunch of goals. There's just so many good players that they have, so it's going to be really interesting. And then the big signing here, Moises Caicedo for $100 million, just went through yesterday. He's going to come in and play in that number 6 role, that central midfielder. He is going to be a game changer for sure. So I think they just got extremely better there. And that's not to mention you still got players like Mudryk. You still got players, Chukwuemeka, Carney Chukwuemeka, who just came on.
This is why I'm asking you to do this.
The names are tough. And then a new goalkeeper, and obviously a new goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez. Not good enough for Brighton, but he's starting for Chelsea. Really crazy. And there's so many players. And Axel Disasi, who scored the goal.
Yeah.
Who they literally just signed from Monaco in France. He just literally came on last week. I didn't even see him at the in the summer series. So,
but you know what I like about these signings, as opposed to some of their signings over the last few years, is these are all young players. They're they're building. Even like when they sign like. Oh boy! Maybe even Sanchez, even the goalie, he's only 25. I looked at. I think I was just. It seems like he's been around forever, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. It's true. He's got a good experience. Yeah, no question.
But so anyway, I like the changes that they've made. We'll see if it works out for them. I do want to mention one thing about this past weekend's game, and that is John Champion, who's now the announcer.
Yeah.
For NBC. He's great, by the way.
Yeah, really good.
And, I always point out that the British announcers use words that we'll never hear in sporting events over here. He described last season's Chelsea season as insipid, which insipid is a great word. And you just generally don't hear it during sporting events. So I tip my cap to John Champion. All right, we got 2 more teams to talk, or 3 more teams. We can go over them quickly. Crystal Palace, they didn't really do much to bring anybody in, and they lost Zaha, and yet they won 1-0 in their opening game against Sheffield.
Yeah, so they won their first game. Like you said, really nothing much there other than the highlight of their game was their manager getting into a little bit of a ruckus on the side. I don't know if you saw the highlights.
I did,
A 76-year-old manager fighting with one of the players. So we don't want that to happen too often. But I do like the couple of players that they have there. I mean, Chris Richards, an American player there,
Yes.
which is great. Mark Gahey, who is the vice captain, he's a good little center back, English center. He's knocking around in the English lineup, and then Eze is also there, as well as Michael Olise as well. Both those players, I think some of those bigger clubs are sniffing around. Chelsea is definitely sniffing around Olise for sure. So he might be a player that might be
they need more
on
players,
his way.
Chelsea.
Because we're a bit short in that area. So don't be surprised if one of those two players may end up leaving at some point here in the next week. But they'll be fine. They've got enough decent players, and they should be okay.
Let's talk about Everton. Again, they didn't really do much, did they?
No.
And they barely stayed afloat last season. If I were an Everton fan, I'd be pretty ticked off.
I am very concerned for Everton. When you bring in Ashley Young as one of your players for this next year, who's like your age, that's not a good start.
No.
I'm a little concerned where they're at. They did pick up Jack Harrison on loan from Leeds United. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, no, I missed that.
So that could definitely help them, a little bit of energy. But they're only going to be as good as Dominic Calvert-Lewin being able to stay healthy and scoring some goals. And how many goals James Tarkowski can score off set pieces. That's basically going to be them. So I think it's going to be really, really tough for them this year. And I hope for all the Everton fans that when I was on the trip, when I went on the trip this past spring and we were visiting Liverpool's stadium, and we could actually look out and see Everton Stadium, the Liverpool guide said, "Look at that. That'll be the best stadium in the Championship next season." So, yeah.
All right.
So, could happen.
Then the last team we'll talk about is Fulham, which did have a couple of signings. They brought in a few of the guys from Wolves. They have Jimenez and also one of the Traores.
Yes.
The big one, right? The guy with the big, huge muscles?
Yes. Adama Traore, yes, from Wolves, yeah.
So those are two decent signings. And Fulham had a pretty good season last year. They didn't really lose anyone major, did they?
Well, the biggest concern is their striker, Alexander Mitrovic. He was not played. He was there on the trip. He came over to the United States, but because they were part of the summer series, but didn't play. So it's a really weird situation. He's at a little bit of a conflict with the manager, Marco Silva.
Yeah, he did play he did play this past week.
He played
just a few minutes though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's normally their starting striker. He's got the number 9 shirt, so you would say he's there. I mean, they've still got enough talent there. Quite a few American players. Obviously, Tim Ream is there, Anthony Robinson. You've got those, and like you said, I think that's part of the reason why they added Jimenez as the striker, because they just don't know what's going to happen with Mitrovic. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going to Saudi Arabia at some point.
Yeah, we should do a show on that coming up too. Just about some of the things happening to Saudi Arabia.
Maybe a whole show on pronunciations of the teams, because I can't even Al everything.
All right, well, we'll do the other 10 teams in the league next week. In the meantime, Free Kicks is brought to you by the Illinois Youth Soccer Association.
Illinois Youth Soccer has been proudly serving the Illinois soccer community since 1975 and has a strong history of credibility. Illinois Youth Soccer is a non-profit corporation, official state association and charter member of the U.S. Soccer Federation, and administers U.S. Soccer Federation coaching programs, the Olympic Development Program, and U.S. Soccer Federation referee programs. For more information, go to illinoisyouthsoccer.org.
All right, time for another feature.
Time now to guess the Premier League star.
Did you miss it this summer, Adam? Did you miss your Guess the Premier League star?
I actually, what I would do is every Tuesday I would do it myself and test myself.
Okay. Well, let's see how you did.
I don't know.
This week's star is 24 years old, and he just signed with a new team.
Oh, there you go.
So, but he's been in the Premier League for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
He is an attacking midfielder.
Okay.
But he's one of those midfielders that can score. He led his team in goals last year. So he also can play forward. He left a team that did not qualify for Europe to go to a Champions League team. So he left one of the lesser teams to go to one of the bigger
Now,
teams.
this lesser team, is this a lesser team that you would think should be a top team?
Oh, I don't know. That's, all I can see is the standings from last year, and I'm seeing lesser team.
Right.
That's all I know.
Okay.
He plays for his national team, but that team is not England.
Right. Okay.
Did I mention he led his team in scoring last year? And I'll tell you the number of goals he scored. 7.
Yeah, it wasn't many. I think I have an idea who it might be. And I think we mentioned him briefly at the beginning.
Oh, yes.
And he is from Germany. Would that be correct?
Correct, yes.
And this player has left my team to go to another team in London. If you remember, they're the only team in London. They're a team in London that hasn't won the Champions League, whereas Chelsea's won the Champions League twice.
Okay.
It has to be Kai Havertz.
That is correct. All right, time for another feature.
Now time for Adam's Weekend Soccer TV Tip.
All right, so we have some good games coming up this weekend. And why don't you tell me which ones that we shan't miss?
Okay, first of all, obviously Premier League is our focus, but we do have to do a quick shout out for the Women's World Cup final this weekend.
Of course, yes.
So we have that on Sunday. And I know you're going to get up watching. It's 5 a.m. kickoff, so it's going to be nice, easy one for you to get up for. But we know that one team's in it, Spain, and then by tomorrow we'll know if it's going to be England or Australia. So that's the other team. So that's going to be on Sunday. Definitely tune into Fox to watch that game. So hopefully it's an England-Spain final, and England come out as champs. We'll see how
I'd
that
like to
works
see
out.
that, actually. I'm rooting for England at this point.
Yeah. Great. Me too. And then, but man, I mean, I guess this is the perfect scenario. Second week of the season. Let's have first versus second, right?
Yeah,
so who we got?
it?
We've got. Well, I guess they're tied for second because my team Brighton is also up there.
Yeah.
But it's Manchester City versus Newcastle. I think this is going to be the game that we want to go watch. It's going to be at Manchester City at the Etihad. It's live on Peacock, 2 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. So move everything out from the morning. Do what you need to do. There's games on in the morning, obviously. But this is definitely a don't miss game because I think you're going to see two teams that are going to be challenging for the top 4. No question.
Yeah. I watched Newcastle. They look pretty good. I got to say. There's a lot of firepower on that team. And you've always loved that coach.
Yes. Yeah, Eddie's great. Isaac is a goal scorer. I mean, they've got 2 good goal scorers in Callum Wilson and Isaac. I mean, one goes out and one comes in and they both score. So he's in a great situation. And they're still signing players too. So
man,
be
they
ready.
have
I think
unlimited finances now too.
Well, in the country owns you, you've got a good chance of winning. You really do.
True. All right, so we have a lot more to talk about next week and a lot of games to watch between now and then. But in the meantime, Free Kicks is brought to you by Green White Soccer Club. I'm the president of that club. I'd tell you a little story. I have, in my role as president, I have to attend the National Donnerschwaben meeting, which is going to be in Mansfield, Ohio over...
wow, beautiful.
Yeah, I know. I know. Mansfield, Ohio, and it's going to be an international dance competition.
Oh, great.
Can't wait. Anyway, Green White Soccer Club has been around for nearly 70 years. Go to greenwhitesoccer.org. Lots of travel clubs there for kids of any ages. And we even have teams for old-timers. We play up to over 48s. All right, special thanks to our executive producer, Tony Lasano with opishows.com. Opie is hippo backwards, OPPIH shows.com. We're distributed by Ed Silla with Radio Misfits. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place, radiomisfits.com. And we'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of Free Kicks. The preceding was a presentation of Opie Productions. Find our other great shows wherever you find podcasts, including opishows.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?